In 1909, a 35-year-old music educator in England wrote a short three-movement composition for what was termed in that country a military band, essentially analogous to the American concert band. To that composition, the composer, Gustav Holst, applied the title suite, which at the time usually meant a more or less loosely integrated collection of dance movements or character pieces. This suite, however, was very different from those earlier models. This was a thoroughly integrated composition based entirely on a single theme of singable, folk-like character. It represented a significant departure from Holst's earlier compositional efforts, which had aimed at the production of high art in the Wagnerian mold, and reflected an ongoing conversation between Holst and his friend Ralph Vaughan Williams. The two musicians had concluded that there was something alien to the English spirit about that endless, through-composed arioso-style unfolding of melody and harmony that characterized the Germanic art of Wagner with its many leitmotifs, and that a proper English style would rightly draw instead on the sturdy folk-singing traditions so widespread and celebrated in Britain. Thus, Holst's first suite for military band centers on a single folk-like tune from which all the suite's themes, all of them singable, are crafted. 2 years later, Holst would follow this suite with another, this time based on authentic folk songs, and Vaughan Williams followed suit with one of his own about a decade later. Needless to say, Percy Aldridge Granger's Lincolnshire Posy, which I treated on this channel a couple of weeks ago, lies squarely within this new tradition, which pairs naturally enough with ethnomusicological pursuits and interests. Holst's first suite wasn't published until 11 years after its composition, and with the advent of print copies and wide circulation, the composition's reputation grew by leaps and bounds, unleashing a steadily growing torrent of works composed specifically with the concert band in mind. Far different fare from what had been the staples of concert band diet, namely military marches and arrangements of show tunes and operetta overtures, played in the public band shell on Sunday afternoons. It is in this composition that the reputation and prestige of the concert band as a vehicle for serious musical expression got some real purchase and began to flower, and the result a century later is a fine repertoire for this ensemble, with contributions by many of the 20th century's compositional luminaries. And apart from its historical significance, Holst's first suite is utterly engaging and deeply satisfying to listen to and to perform. It's a pleasure to present it here. The 1921 publication of Holst's pioneering effort came only with a reduced or short score. You saw one of those a couple of weeks ago, for that is what I used in my Lincolnshire Posy analysis. A full orchestral or concert band score is much too large to reproduce satisfactorily in this video format. The short score for Lincolnshire Posy was plenty primitive, but this short score by Boosey and Company is even less informative. Basically, it consists of a piano reduction, most of which can be played by a single player with no instrumental indications whatsoever and very little in the way of dynamic and stylistic markings. Even though the score is headed conductor, it's hard to imagine a rehearsal being conducted from this. What do you think? Holst seems to have said very little in print about his first suite, with his published comments limited to a single paragraph published in that short score, which reads, "As each movement is founded on the same phrase, it is requested that the suite shall be played right through without a break. It is suggested that in the absence of a string bass, the ad-lib part for that instrument in the intermezzo shall not be played on any brass instrument, but omitted, excepting where the notes are cued in other parts. Also, in the absence of timpani, the ad-lib part for the latter is to be omitted entirely." That's not a lot to go on, and all expressed in the passive voice. Perhaps Holst understood that this music really speaks for itself, and it isn't necessary to spill a lot of ink over it. Accordingly, I've kept my own comments to a minimum and present the suite's 3 movements without a break. The recording is of a 1997 performance by the United States Marine Band, led by guest conductor Frederick Fennell in Baltimore's Meyerhoff Symphony Hall.